voice recording going on here, so
all good.
I got my my candy corn here. One of the most controversial Halloween candies out there. People either love them or they hate them.
I got a huge sweet tooth, man. So I'll eat any damn candy for real. Outside, I even like them wax plastic bottles. I'll eat the shit out of them.
Really?
Shit out. Just chew on the bottle. You know what I'm talking about? The wax ones, like you can bite the tip off, suck all that pure sugar out of there, and then chew on that wax. Just chew on it all day long. People that's watching this is probably like, yeah, that's why your teeth is screwed up.
Let's not kid ourselves, Dougie. No one's watching.
Oh, man. Hey, but that ain't what it's about, man. That ain't ever what it's about. It's always fun to jump on with some friends, man, and talk football. That's what this crap was started back in the day, you know, just friends, family leagues, you know, and then it grew into what it is now. So, you know what I mean? Just companionship.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Welcome to the Dynasty Vipers VipewrCast, episode 7. And I'd get that episode 7 out there early because I will forget what episode we're on by the end of the show. Tonight, we've got my brother from another mother, Oklahoma Doug, joining us. And you know what? We're going to have a heavy dose of 49ers and Raiders football talk for you today because, quite frankly, no one's here to control us. And we got a little bit of something to be gloating about here this week here. So I'm excited for this here and a little talk. And as usual, there's going to be people jumping in as we go throughout the show. So I never have a clue who's going to show up, but here we go. Dougie, let's talk about it right now. The 49ers. Monday Night Football against the Cleveland Browns. Now, most people probably had Cleveland win. I know what the line was. I think it was the 49ers +4, right? I think most people thought the Browns were going to either cover that or flat out win this week. Mr. Nick Bosa had a little something to say about that, though.
Woo, Matt. Woo, Coach, man. I mean, I'm one of them. Thought they was going to cover the 4. Thought they was going to win straight up. Really did. I'm one of the one. I'm a diehard fan, man. I've been to the lowest of lows with this team, man. I've been to the highest of highs with this team, and I wasn't really on board. I really wasn't on board, Coach. To be 100% honest with you, I wasn't on board. I just didn't have a lot of faith in that secondary. I knew it took a step forward. But a step forward from 32nd is what? You know what I mean? Like middle of the pack jumps you up that much. But that pass rush has helped this team so damn much, Coach. It is unbelievable what this pass rush has did for everybody's confidence. It's even brought the offense's confidence up. It's a night and day team from what it was last year. People are playing with their heads on fire, flying after the ball, playing till the end of the whistle. It's just nonstop sideline to sideline. It is so fun to watch, man. 31-3 though. There better be nobody that says they guess that because I'll call you bluff on that, man. There ain't no way.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Like, one of the things you see Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, and Odell Beckham Jr. going against that 49ers secondary. The 49ers secondary, we've talked before, they are improved. They're definitely better than they were last year, but to completely shut down Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, I think, well, we know that front 4 there for the 49ers against that very sad bunch of linemen there in Cleveland had something to do with it because Cleveland could not stop anyone on that 49ers front. That 49ers front is arguably the best front 4 in the NFL, and they go as deep as any team as well. Like that front 4 is more like a good solid 6-man rotation they got going on there.
None. Hold on, buddy.
All right. I can just keep talking about the 49ers for you. So I think the problem was the main thing is in that game, it was the 49ers defensive line that absolutely took the Browns to the woodshed there. That offensive line was overpowered throughout the game, and it showed with the pressures that were coming on Baker Mayfield, the sacks, the hits, everything was getting to him. And what that does is that just kind of disrupted the whole fact that he could not get that ball. He could not push that ball downfield to his wide receivers. And San Francisco is a legit team this year. They're 4-0 right now, and they are absolutely legit. You look through that NFC West right now, you got the Arizona Cardinals, who we know are improving, but they're still nowhere near where they need to be. The Seattle Seahawks look like a great team this year as well. And the LA Rams were a bit of a down this year. So with the 49ers starting off at 4-0, I think the Seahawks are 4-1. The Rams are 3-2. When we see a Seahawks 49ers game this week, the Seahawks and 49ers game is going to be huge because that's going to have first place implications on the line right off the get-go. And the 49ers are as good of any team in the NFC right now. You can argue the Dallas Cowboys, but they've struggled recently. You can argue the Green Bay Packers, which I'm not quite sold on Green Bay. And you can argue the New Orleans Saints without Drew Brees being 4-1 is pretty impressive itself. But right now, I think the story in that NFC is the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I agree with you, brother. And we used to think of NFC and we used to think of high flying, throwing the ball down the field, just lots of offense, lots of yards, man. Or at least that's what I thought of, when you got the Saints, you got the Packers and Rodgers, you got a loaded NFC there. And now you're seeing almost a change of the guard. You're seeing the Saints, man, with Davenport and the weekend he had, man, there on the edge. With Rankins coming back, it just solidified that whole defensive line even more there in New Orleans. And now you're seeing the Saints become a defensive pressure team instead of that, that high-flying dome team that, is just chunking the ball around the field. When you see what Bridgewater go, like 19 for like 25 or something like that. I mean, it was just crazy efficient. I mean, I don't think he threw the ball more than 12 yards down the field, but, that defense is carrying you. So you ain't got to make those, take those risks. So it's these defensive lines, man, I think their teams are starting to see that, this pressure on a quarterback can throw everything off, and it starts with the Niners, in my opinion. I think it's the best defensive line in the NFC. I won't say NFL just yet, but it's close, Coach.
And that 49ers, that front is going to take them where they need to go. The 49ers are going to live and die by that front four this year as we go, especially when you're facing guys like Kyler Murray. You're facing Jared Goff and those receivers in LA with the Rams, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp. It's great to have those wide receivers, but if you don't have time to get them the ball, it's another story. Russell Wilson, another mobile quarterback there in the NFC West. So they're going to live and die by that front four, and that front four will take them where they need to go. That's the bottom line. If that front four starts to let off a little bit, they're going to be in trouble. But if they keep playing like they've been playing so far through 4 games, I don't see how they don't win the division.
No, we got the Rams this week. It's or next week. Big game coming up against the Rams here, man. I know the Seahawks games always, but to be honest with you, I always split that one every year. Unless it's been the last couple past years when we've been trash, I've gave it to Seattle 2 times. But you can almost chalk up just that rivalry as a 50-50, man. It's never, you never know with that Seahawks Niners rivalry, but this Rams one, I think that's the one that we've got to get past to put us over that hump. 4-0 don't mean nothing until you can get past the Rams and Seahawks. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I'm just going to go grab some kids and throw them upstairs here real quick and get them in their beds. But talk about the 49ers and how
Oh.
they line up with the rest of that NFC, because we know the Saints are going to have a strong defense and they have a good offense to go with it. What obstacles do you see for the 49ers? Who are the teams for them to beat, and who are they going to be challenging with throughout the season?
Right, buddy. Go ahead and take care of your business. It's like I said, I think it starts with the division within their own division there. That's where it all starts for me. They've got to get past the Rams, and they've got to get past the Seahawks. I really don't see Seahawks as much of a problem for them as I have in the past, but they have Russell Wilson, and I still think he's the best quarterback in the National Football League outside of Patrick Mahomes. So that's always going to give you an advantage no matter what. Me and you can go play wide receiver for the Seahawks, and Russell Wilson can make it one hell of a game. I mean, and that's all there is to it. So give credit where it's due, but I think it starts within their own division. I don't think they need to look past their own division until they can, and then they can take the next step forward. We'll see this weekend. I think we will see this weekend. That was a big win, huge win, primetime game. But now let's win a division game against a very, very good football team.
And that's what you see with a lot of teams right now. They build to compete in that division. That's your first thing. When you're building your team right now, if you're the 49ers, you're not building your team to beat the Dallas Cowboys. You're building your team to beat the Seahawks, to beat the Cardinals, to beat the Rams. Take care of your home first, and then you work your way out. And that's kind of what we're seeing in a lot of leagues here, or a lot of the different divisions, is you're building your roster, you're constructing it in a way to compete with those other teams in your division. And then hopefully when you get out of your division, if you get out of your division, then you can compete with the other teams in your conference. Unless you're, of course, the New England Patriots or the Kansas City Chiefs, your team's already constructed. You really don't care how anyone else builds their team. Let's face it, when you flip over to the AFC, it's the Chiefs and Patriots. You can call whichever one you want number one. I probably give the slight edge to the Chiefs, which makes me throw up in my mouth right now. You got your New England Patriots at number two. Who is the third best team in the AFC?
If you ask me right now, I want to say the Houston Texans, but if you asked me last week, no, they'd have been down closer to the bottom than they would have been the top. But I mean, that Atlanta Falcons secondary, Coach, me and you hit on that on Rated IDP Live, man. We knew they were going to get ate up. So, I don't know, Coach. What do you think, man? That AFC's toss up to me, man. It's them two at the top, like you said, and then everybody else.
Yeah, I would probably give the third best team designation probably to Bills Mafia and the Buffalo Bills right now.
Okay.
They played the New England Patriots. I believe it was a 16-10 game, so they competed with the Patriots. That was the same game that Josh Allen got injured. He left the game early, and Matt Barkley came in and kept things going. Frank Gore looked like Frank Gore, Hall of Famer, first ballot. Still ran for 110 yards or so, right? So right now, the Buffalo Bills are my number 3 team in that AFC because they do have a good defense. They've got a strong secondary. So I think they can compete with anyone in the league. And I think they could probably give the Chiefs a good run for the money. Let's not forget, we're going to get to my Oakland Raiders here in a minute. But the Oakland Raiders actually held the Chiefs to 28 points when they played earlier this season too. And all 28 of those points came in the second quarter. So for 3 quarters, the Oakland Raiders shut out the Kansas City Chiefs. Now we watch what the and here's another team, the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts went in with their practice squad, basically, and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs this week. And I don't want to use the term practice squad, but they're without their starting safeties. They were without Darius Leonard in the middle. They were without a bunch of players.
Right. They lost to Ray. I believe it was in the beginning of the second half. They lost Kamiko to Ray. One of the big catalysts on that defensive line.
What the Colts did, and why I'm surprised the Chiefs didn't do this, is both the Colts and the Chiefs are the two worst teams against the run. So what did you see? You've seen the Indianapolis Colts run the ball 40-plus times. 40-plus times. The Kansas City Chiefs ran the ball like 10 times. You're playing two very bad run defenses, and one team recognizes this and runs the ball. The other team doesn't recognize this, and they try and pass the ball. The Colts went in there with a very good game plan, run the ball, play defense, and see what can happen. Control the clock. That third quarter, man, that second half, there was at one point, I think the time of possession was 17 minutes to 3 minutes.
Ooh.
In favor of the Colts. They controlled the clock. Now, they had some things go their way, too. They got into a good game. They got Chris Jones in. Chris Jones came up lame. He pulled his groin. So now you're losing the biggest run stopper on that Chiefs defense against, and this is a bad run stopping team to begin with. And then you also
Marlon Mack looked good.
Marlon Mack
real
fantastic.
Good. Marlon Mack looked exceptional.
And then on top of it, Patrick Mahomes had a bad wheel to begin with, and then he got his ankle stepped on to boot. Patrick Mahomes is most effective, if you look at his QB rating, on throws on the run. When he's moving in that pocket, that's when he has that best chance to create. That's when the Chiefs get all those big plays, is when he starts to create and throws that deep ball downfield. On that bad wheel, he couldn't create nothing. He couldn't get that separation. Then you've seen the Colts getting in on him, getting those sacks. Justin Houston came out balling, a little bit of a revenge tour. And the Colts suddenly look good. No one wants to win that AFC South division right now with the Texans, the Jags, the Titans, and the aforementioned Colts team. No one really wants to win it. No one's really pulling ahead. So you got some really good competition there. I can't even tell you who's going to win that AFC South. I'm going to say the Jaguars because Gardner Minshew, but that's another little thing altogether.
One thing that your third team there in the Bills. One thing they had in common with the New England Patriots here is points allowed. The Patriots have only allowed 34 points through 5 games. Now that says that's amazing. But let's consider it's the Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Let's consider it was opening week against this Pittsburgh Steelers team that we've seen is obviously in shambles, and that it could have been started just even before week 1. But anyway, the next closest one to them is the Buffalo Bills at 70 points allowed. And they're at 4-1. I guess you look up and the Buffalo Bills are 4-1 with their only loss coming to those New England Patriots. Coach, I'm on board, man. I'm on board, and I wanted to transition right into what do you think of the newest Oakland Raider coming from Buffalo?
I don't know what to think of it, to be honest with you. As a Raiders fan, and you hope for the biggest play you could possibly get, I was really hoping on a Stefan Diggs kind of trade coming to him. That would have absolutely blown my load here. That would have been my Super Bowl, getting in Stefan Diggs after all the trade talks, and then we've seen him not get used again this week, 2 catches. So I'm thinking, okay, we might make a play for him. There's been the rumors going around. I know they're Twitter rumors, so take them with a grain of salt. Actually, take it with the whole damn salt shaker, to be honest with you. And so that's what I'm getting excited. I'm like, oh, Raiders traded for a receiver. So I'm getting on there as quickly as I can. And I'm like, Zay Jones. What has Zay Jones done in the NFL? The only thing he's ever done that's kind of got any attention is that levitation thing where he gets up on like his pinky toe and somehow pops himself straight back up. That's literally
or running through a motel butt naked, and you're going to go play in Las Vegas next year. Did we think about this a whole lot? But
that probably makes them perfect Raider for what they've been doing this year between Antonio Brown, Richie Incognito, Vontaze Burfict. Yeah, why not get a streaker involved on your team? But,
Yeah, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get into the Raiders with you, man, on the fantasy breakdown, man. I can't wait to get into it because that's just like you said. You just said, yourself what they've been doing in some of their signings and stuff. But you look up, Coach, and the Raiders are playing damn good football.
Mhm. Earlier this year, before the season started, we did this little. I'm going to butcher this. I know this now, so correct me right away. That little fantasy campfire kind of thing we did earlier, right? Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Summer camp? Yeah.
Summer camp. And we talked Oakland Raiders there, and I was kind of on the fence, and I was trying to be a realist here. And I thought, you know what? If they can come out at 2-4 to start the season with their first 6 games, I'd be very happy about it. I figured, there's these teams that they can beat, and then okay, we'll see how it goes. See how this young nucleus kind of comes together and how they handle a little bit of adversity. But they haven't had to handle that yet because they've been playing so well as a team, as a unit. Their adversity that they've handled was the whole Antonio Brown, whatever you want to call that shit show thing.
Couldn't we say that was a lot, though? I mean, couldn't we say that might have brought this team together?
I would agree with that. I would think full-heartedly. Now we're talking about a team that was 2-2 going overseas to London, playing against a very good Chicago Bears team. Beginning of the season, this is John Gruden's kind of, okay, we traded Khalil Mack, now let's see how smart I really am. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
You look pretty smart. They knocked him off, and Mack didn't have any sacks. He had a fumble recovery, but that was on a weird-ass toss where Derek Carr did a no-look toss to the left there, and I don't know where Josh Jacobs was going, but clearly not where Derek Carr thought he was going to be. And he recovered a fumble. That was really all. And Mack had one QB hit there. I believe it was probably the third quarter, but not a sack. So they kind of isolated him. But if you remember, I think it was rated IDP Live, actually, before the game. We were kind of BSing, and I was throwing out these weird-ass projections going into the week. And I threw out the Will Fuller prediction, and everyone kind of had a good chuckle. I was like, yeah, he'll have 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. I went big on this. Well, apparently I underestimated Will Fuller's ability and how poor the Falcons were. He went over my prediction, which I thought was pretty high to begin with. And then we got talking about the Oakland Raiders. And I said, how do you take away a great pass rush? You run the screen passes, you run draws, you get the pass rush to the outside, and then you open up the middle. If you do short passes and draws in the middle, the pass rush can't get to your quarterback. Well, what do the Raiders do? They use Josh Jacobs the way Josh Jacobs needs to be used. He had over 100 yards rushing. He was in the passing game. They played a smart game. They also didn't have their wide receiver one, Tyrell Williams, who sat out the game. And they took it to the Bears. And also, if you remember on the show, we were sitting there, and I go, I wish I could pull up clips and play them on the show right now. I said Raiders by 3. And what was the final score? The Raiders won by 3. I made the exact prediction, and everyone kind of had a good laugh at that because it's a homer pick. Anytime I'm picking the Raiders, we know it's a homer pick. But the fact they went out there, went to Tottenham there in London, and got the win by 3 against a very good Chicago Bears team that was 3-1 going into that game.
Yep.
And let's not forget, they're now the number 2 team in the AFC West. They're ahead of the struggling Chargers. They're ahead of the really struggling Denver Broncos, who finally got off the winless column here last week. And they're only a game now back of the Kansas City Chiefs, who are only 4-1. So they're in a much better position than anyone could have probably expected outside of their locker room. Now, any player, any team, they're going to tell you they feel good about their season going in, except maybe the Giants or the Dolphins. They probably didn't think much was going on there to begin with. But everyone feels they have a good squad entering the season. And we kind of chuck it up because we think we're smarter than professional players and GMs, and we all think we're smarter. Well, you know what? They're 3-2, and they're in a good spot. They're 1 game back. So kudos to them. It's fun being a Raiders fan. It's fun being a Niners fan right now. I don't know how long the Raiders Fan Fest is going to last. I think the 49ers are going to have a good run this year. So we'll see what happens here in the next few weeks. We get Green Bay coming off our bye week. We get a bye week, so we get a week to prepare for Green Bay. So then it's going to be, okay, I think the Raiders could actually beat Green Bay with a week off before their next game to get ready for them. We'll see how that goes. Maybe we can see Derek Carr line up one-on-one with Devontae Adams and see if he can shut him down.
Yeah, and that seemed what's been working for teams facing the Packers is how they've slowed. What's happened in the past was the Packers could get shut down Jordy, and then James Jones or Devontae Adams or somebody else would take over and lift that offense over the hump. Now the Packers don't have that to lift them over that hump anymore, but what they do have is that defense, and that defense is nasty. The secondary is lethal, Coach. Jair Alexander is now locked down. He's now a void in all fantasy leagues, pretty much. I know he's going to get a pick six every now and then. I know he's still going to get thrown out every now and then, but lockdown means shut down in fantasy football. Am I wrong, Coach?
No, and we talked about this at the beginning of the season. A lot of people were high on Jair Alexander and his growth that he's been taking. And right now I'm kind of going over some information out there, and D'Angelo Hall put out his top 5 corners list. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but D'Angelo Hall talked about who his top 5 corners are in the league.
Oh, yeah.
Number 4 on that list.
Yeah.
Number 4 on that list, Jair Alexander. So he's getting some love. He's getting some respect. I'm just gonna go through this list with you real quick. Where do you think Hall is right and where he's wrong on this? Kyle Fuller at number 5 for the Bears. Alexander at number 4. Number 3, Tre'Davious White. Number 2, Marlon Humphrey. And number 1, Stephon Gilmore. Is there anyone that's missing on that list that should be on that list right now? Because we could argue Jalen Ramsey, but he's missed 2 games already. So it's hard to put him in that top 5 when he's missed 2 games.
And that's the thing with cornerback. And I know we say that, a cornerback's different from fantasy than it is NFL, but is it really? Because in the NFL, the quarterback's going to be avoiding their number 1 quarterback as well. I mean, if me and Coach know about Jair Alexander now becoming locked down and lethal and an avoid, don't we all think Derek Carr's going to know that in 2 weeks? I know he will. I know Gruden knows it. Gruden's going to stay completely away from that side of the field. It'll be a Josh Jackson show. It'll be a Kevin King show. But it's been on the edges. The Smith, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith. The acquisitions have been great. The offseason acquisitions have been amazing for the Green Bay Packers. And let's not forget Kenny Clark. I know he put up a dud this last week, but it's defensive tackles, folks. It's going to happen. But what he's gave you so far through the first 4 before that, man, Kenny Clark is a damn stud. Tier 1 defensive tackle, baby. Love Kenny Clark.
I think in this Raiders-Packers game, you're going to see 2 of the most improved units in the league go at it. You're going to see that front of the Packers that you mentioned there with Preston Smith, Kenny Clark there, Zadarius Smith. You're going to see that pressure, and you're going to see the Oakland Raiders, which I think is a much improved offensive line. Dare I say, they could be a top 5 offensive line unit right now with Trent Brown, Colton Miller finally looking like an actual tackle, Richie Incognito, Rodney Hudson there. This could be a really fun matchup to watch because even the Bears didn't get that much pressure. And it can be argued that the Bears have, again, one of the top 3 fronts in the NFL. And they pretty much limited that. Yeah. They contained it for the most part. So it's going to be interesting to watch Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith go up against the Raiders tackles there and see what kind of happens there. So
we wanted to harp on Colton Miller last year whenever he sucked and was getting blown up every play. you know why you don't hear no Colton Miller this year? Because he's playing damn good football. It's amazing what John Gruden's staff has did for Colton Miller and that offensive line. What was once helmed as a top 5 offensive line that completely fell off the map has been just reemerged from just the ashes. Halloween, zombies, baby, fantasy zombies. It's great. It's just been amazing what that staff did for that offensive line.
Yeah, now just kind of swinging this back to the shutdown corner. We've seen this over the years. This is nothing new. We've seen the Richard Shermans come through, and Richard Sherman was on the top of his game. He's still a good corner, but he was a shutdown corner that nobody even looked at his side of the field. Deion Sanders, he could take half a field away back in the day, and no one would even throw in that direction. We've seen with Patrick Peterson when he was a little bit younger. We've seen it with Josh Norman there in those couple of years he had that were as good as any in the league. Guys like Stephon Gilmore and Jair Alexander are working themselves into that conversation right now as the season goes on. And I'm excited to watch it. Like, it's going to be – I hope Tyrell Williams is at 100% to watch that Alexander-Williams matchup next week for me, because I always love watching a good corner and a good wide receiver go at it and see what happens. We've seen it with Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore. We've watched that for the last few years. Fun matchup.
There's another name. There's another name climbing up that list right there, Coach. That Marshawn Lattimore is having an all-pro year. All-pro. Shut down Cooper. He's locking them. Shut down Cooper. Shut down Evans in back-to-back weeks. Lockdown.
And I think Lattimore would be higher on this list if it wasn't for those first 2 weeks where he really struggled. He was getting beat left, right, and center those first 2 weeks. He seems to have got it right the last couple weeks. So I could see why he's not on this top 5 right now.
And in my opinion, you know why that is? It's because the pressure up front wasn't what it is right now. The pressure, Sheldon Rankins is back. Davenport's getting an extra step on the edge because Rankin's taking a little bit more attention in the middle. Everybody's taking more attention up front. Secondary is getting to maybe be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more pass deflections, a little bit more interceptions, a little bit more second guesses from a quarterback. That front line just sets everything full circle. Back to what we started the show talking about is that NFC front defensive lines is just taking over. And back to answer your question about Hall's list, my answer would be you look at this list and don't own a single person on it for fantasy football. That'd be my opinion. I don't disagree with any of the lists, but any list that D'Angelo Hall makes and says a guy's locked down, the NFL quarterbacks know that as well. So they're not going to get thrown at as much. Get rid of those guys. Try to trade them. Hey, you might get some name value for Jair Alexander right now, Coach. You probably could get a little name value on a cornerback.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's one of those things. If you're an IDP and in your fantasy, you don't really want to get Jair Alexander based on what that shutdown status does for him. But based on his name and what he's done, you might be able to talk someone to getting something special for him going forward. So I'm not you know me, no one on my teams are ever untouchable. There's always a price associated with every player, except maybe Christian McCaffrey, because with Christian McCaffrey right now, you've got an RB1 and a wide receiver 1 in one player. That's one player I think right now in fantasy. It would take a boatload of picks and a boatload of talent just to acquire him right now. Like, you get 2 positions in one with Christian McCaffrey. Is there anyone playing better right now than Christian McCaffrey?
Nope. Nobody. There's nobody in football playing better NFL football than Christian McCaffrey right now. Nobody. I think I can make a case. I can make a case for Blake Martinez just because of the consistency at a linebacker spot, you can make a case for Patrick Mahomes. Team's still winning. Defense is trash. Guys still putting them over the hump. You said yourself the run defense is just shoddy. It's just terrible. The defense, none of the defense is good outside of Fuller. They've got nothing. Brashad Breeland is manning the other side for the kids. So, man, it's what a year. I love football, Coach. I love football. I was telling you about the little Flag Day piece. I was working on. Man, I love sports, dude. It's just I love it. Love it, man.
You know what? And I'm really, really looking forward to when the Raiders and the Chiefs play again. Because I think that offensive line is going to even be better when they get another shot at them again. And if the Chiefs don't get that run defense fixed, and you've got Josh Jacobs, who's more settled into his role with that offensive line, you could see the Raiders use the exact same blueprint the Colts used this week. And it could be a very, very interesting game from that point.
And Coach, the first episode of Fantasy Breakdown Theater is doing the Kansas City Chiefs at Detroit Lions, week 4. Me and Nate's going to sit down and we're going to go over. We're going to go over that game, and we're going to take away some videos. I've got the videos made and everything. One thing that stood out, just completely stood out, was Detroit's running the ball. That's running the ball. And the more they ran the ball, the more confident Stafford got, the more confident the offensive line got, the more confident the defense got. It was just, you could just see it all moving. Once the run game gets going, once the run game starts picking up 4, 5, 6, 13, 25. And once the run game starts picking them off like that, you've got the line on the heels, man. You're winning in the trenches. That's what you got to do against the Chiefs. You got to win in the trenches.
What do teams do on defense when another team is running the ball 4 or 5 yards per carry? They bring up that safety, all right? Every single time. They bring an extra safety to stop the run. If you're a quarterback like Matt Stafford and you got weapons like Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones, that opens up your pass game big time. And, you get at these teams, like, I don't know, this is where New England may have the advantage on the Chiefs going forward because they've got those receivers to play to the outside. And, New England, they're not afraid to run the ball. They're not afraid to do the short passes. Anything to James White that's considered a pass is really just a run, is all it is. And that's how they use it, and that's how I think they can still beat the Chiefs. So that's why I kind of might give the advantage now, the more and more I think about it, to the Patriots going forward.
That's who I got, buddy. I just don't trust that defense. Patriots, whenever you look at that points allowed and you see it in the 30s, it don't matter. They're still playing NFL teams. I don't give a shit if it's the Miami Dolphins, if it's the St. Louis Thundercats. I don't give a shit. It's an NFL team. You know what I mean? And it's 34 points allowed, man. This team is well-rounded.
If you're going, I know this probably doesn't happen, but there's probably a little bit to it. When New England's getting ready to play Miami, yeah, they're going out there, they're preparing to go to battle, this and that, but I don't think they have quite the same energy they would have going into Arrowhead. You know what I'm saying? It's like boxing.
Not a chance.
You get a heavyweight champ, he's going against some tall guy they just threw in the ring. He's going to toy around with him a little bit before he knocks him out. But now you get 2 heavyweight champion and a number 1 contender going at it. Now that champ, he's going to turn it up a few extra notches, right? I think that's where New England is right now. The other team I could see that's built very good that could give those Chiefs is those Buffalo Bills. They can give them all they can handle. They've got a good line. They got Frank Gore who can run the ball. And you know what? With Robert Woods, Cole Beasley, John Brown, they've got the receivers where Josh Allen, don't forget Josh Allen, he's like another running back there who can pass in the same mold as the Lamar Jackson and stuff. So now they got to respect him. They almost have to bring that extra guy in the box for Josh Allen because he can either hand it off to Frank Gore, who can get to 100 yards on any team, or he can run himself for 60, 75 yards a game. And that's going to open up the passing lanes as well. So I like where the Bills are. I think they can definitely compete with the Chiefs. So that's why I got, like I said earlier, why the Bills are my number 3 team there behind the Chiefs and the Patriots. But I can see the Bills being able to knock off the Chiefs depending on the situation, right? So heck, the Colts do it with half a team. So
agree.
I think the lure behind the Chiefs has kind of gone down a little bit here in the last couple weeks here. The Raiders, like I said, shut them out for 3 quarters. The Detroit Lions took them to overtime. The Colts beat them. So the Chiefs are a good team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the Chiefs suck or anything like that, but I am because they got Sammy.
Heard it here first, folks, on the VipewrCast. Coach Donnelly says the Chiefs are losers. Kansas City Chiefs, you suck.
Full disclosure, this is coming from an Oakland Raiders fan. But, it's that thing where you got to keep bringing your game every week because in the NFL, anyone can knock anyone off at any time, except maybe the Miami Dolphins. They'd have a hard time knocking anyone off, except maybe this week going up against the Washington Redskins. Boy, does that sound like a doozy, doesn't it?
Oh, my God. You want to jump on live and let's have a little watch party for that one.
Oh, that could be painful to watch, man. That could be painful. Hey, here's a drinking game. Take a shot every time there's a punt.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Or incomplete pass.
I think the Dolphins might win this game, to be honest with you.
Are we going to talk about it? Do we got to?
Yeah, let's talk about it. No one's watching right now anyway, so.
Okay, I'll take Redskins. I'll take Redskins, I guess. I don't know. Did you hear Bo Callahan? I think he was Tommy Boy's dad that was selling the brake parts.
Yep.
I heard he's going to get a chance at starting for the Redskins. Because why would we start the rookie quarterback that we might be trying to put our future in? See, that's where Gruden messed up right there. He's an idiot. He's a complete idiot. He deserved to get fired. You drafted a rookie quarterback, and you're going to let that team look like that behind veterans? You're an idiot. You're stupid.
You know what? Here's the kicker, and it goes to your point here. If he would have played Dwayne Haskins from the get-go, he'd still have a job. They could still be 0-4, and no one would care because Haskins is playing. And having a quarterback starting for you basically buys you another year. It always does.
Exactly. That's why we don't even know Miami's head coach's name, and he still has a job.
Yeah, you know what? Trying to pick a team in this Redskins-Dolphins game is like going to a family reunion and trying to figure out which cousin to kiss. You know what I mean? There is no right answer here, right? So
what we usually do is the pinata. We hit the pinata. Whoever gets the fireball, you get the old fireball, and we call her Katie. That's a good
I just about choked on my candy corn. But seriously, like this Dolphins team, I think we're going to see. If you're looking at your fantasy rosters right now, this is a good week to start Terry McLaurin. Every week's a good week now. Like he's coming off a hamstring. He looked okay last week. Preston Williams. This is going to be a big game, I think, for Preston Williams. Because who's going to cover him? Josh Norman. Josh Norman has looked like trash so far this season. Unless they put Quinton Dunbar on him, too. That's a possibility. Dunbar played really good.
Took the words right out of my mouth. See what was happening with the Redskins for the last 2 years since Josh Norman has been on that team, and it started to trickle in last year. As soon as Norman had started getting just blown the hell up in coverage and getting whooped, Quinton Dunbar would move over to Norman, and they'd almost switch positions. And Dunbar would almost follow, a certain person, whoever was hot that game. Mm-hmm. And it'd kind of get masked because Josh Norman's the starter, But now that Dunbar's opposite of him, I haven't really like detailed watching the film, but I guarantee you, if you watch it, Norman will start getting beat up on, just like you said, Coach, and Dunbar will slide over there and take care of problems.
I don't know if I'm being bold here or not, but I think Quinton Dunbar is a top 7 corner in the game right now, at least through the first 4 or 5 weeks here. Quinton Dunbar has been phenomenal. So I have him right now as my number 7 overall corner. Now, not for fantasy, but just overall, which means don't start Quinton Dunbar in any leagues. It's pretty simple. Right. So
that's right.
That's good. I know we don't want to talk about Washington, but I think Washington-Miami game is kind of interesting. It's like watching a car crash. You can't take your eyes off it here at all. So I think I might just tune in just to see how bad this could possibly get. And
yeah, it reminds me of a Netflix show. When I first got Netflix a few years ago, there was a show called After Dark, and it was about these guys that just had a camera, and they lived in Los Angeles. And they had the scanner, and they put the scanner up on the car. And as soon as they heard a car crash, hey, man, these dudes they're taking off, and they're going to the car crash, and they got the camera, and they're like the first people on scene, right? And, like, these people could be hurt. And these guys are like, oh, this is for the news. I got to get paid, got to get paid, got to get paid. That reminds me of this game. That's probably what both players – all players on both of these teams are thinking, I got to get paid. I got to get paid.
Well, there's a certain pride level to it too, right? Like these guys are also competing.
I don't know about that anymore, Coach. I don't know. Has there been any pride playing for the Redskins in the last 10 years? Name one player that's been like, I'm going to retire a Redskin. Yeah, I don't know anybody that's ever said that.
You know what? I think there's really only realistically probably 15% of players in the NFL today that say, this is the team I'm going to retire with. I think that's just the way the game's gone. You know what I mean? But as far as you talk about players here that are probably not only battling for their jobs next year, either with the Redskins or the Dolphins, or they're putting some tape out there for the other 30 teams to take a look at as well. So they're going to show up. They're going to play. It's the NFL. It's professional football. Everyone's playing for their job. It's football, right? It's bottom line. It's football. I don't know if I'd pay for a ticket for either one of them. I don't know if I'd pay to watch.
They are who we thought they are.
Yeah. Like I said, some of these teams are who we thought they were this season. Some of these teams are definitely not what we thought they were. And I'm talking about the Atlanta Falcons.
Whew,
the Atlanta Falcons are 1-4, and they're look bad. Like a 1-4 team.
Yes. Yeah. Imagine if that team didn't have Matt Ryan and Julio Jones.
And the overall tight end number 1 in fantasy, Austin Hooper.
You know what I do? For real. If I'm Arthur Banks, we're doing it all. Hey, come get him. Hey, I seen what they got for Khalil Mack. Come get Julio Jones. Yep. Hey, I seen what quarterbacks are getting traded up for in drafts. Guess what? Come get Matt Ryan. Nobody's ever gave him respect anyway. He's sitting here in Atlanta rotting away. Come get Matt Ryan. You know what? You want Deion Jones? Come get him too. Come get him. We're selling it all. Miami's doing it right in front of our faces. Nobody says a damn word. Dan Snyder or Dan Quinn, whatever his name is up there in Atlanta, is just everything's just melting away from this dude. And he's just trying to put a good team out. And they just got beat 52-32 last week, man. It's just, oh man, Atlanta, it's bad in Atlanta, Coach. It's bad, brother.
Dan Quinn there's probably saying, you know what? Come get Keanu Neal too, because he hasn't played for us anyway.
Yeah, come get him. No, don't come get him because y'all are gonna want him too cheap. Yeah, I'll keep him. Y'all keep him. Grady Jarrett. Didn't they? Have they re-signed that guy?
Oh yeah, he got paid. Yeah, he definitely got paid. He got paid like a top 5 defensive lineman too, I believe. So
hey, okay then.
So.
Come get him. He's already got a contract. Contract's already there for you. We've already.
And another guy we could see going. It's another big name, AJ Green.
AJ Green. Hey, you know where he could end up?
Hey, you know what? I'll be happy for AJ Green to end up anywhere that's not New England. Let's be honest here. I do not want to see him go to. I've heard the rumors of the Patriots making a play for AJ Green, making a play for
everybody, coach. Oh, God. Oh, God, man.
And the worst part is, every Patriots fan that I know or interact with believes they deserve these players on top of it. Like, it's just, oh man, I just can't. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. And by the way, it was a fumble. It wasn't a tuck. The tuck rule. It was a fumble. Just saying, Patriots fans, it was a fumble.
It was a fumble-liner. Fumble-rooski.
That should have been the Raiders Super Bowl. Just saying. Just saying. Probably not, but I'm saying anyway.
Hey, Coach, I'm going to go use the little redneck room. All right, buddy?
You go right on ahead here, and I'll just keep rolling along.
Roll on, brother. Roll on.
Roll on, baby. Roll on, friend. Roll on. Another team I'm kind of interested in is the Philadelphia Eagles. People are still holding out a lot of hope that this 3-2 team is a top 10 team in the league. Jordan Howard looks like he's going to get more carries going forward, which is fantastic for anyone who picked off Jordan Howard off the waiver wire, because I know no one drafted him, or they got him in cheap on a handoff, like a throw-in on any deal they were dealing with. Miles Sanders is probably the long-term answer there. He's looked good in very limited role, but Jordan Howard's come in and looked very good himself. Man, the Dallas Cowboys last week, touching base on them, another 3-2 team here. They did good against teams that they're supposed to do good against, and now they played a couple teams here recently that are quality teams like the Packers here, and now they're 3-2. It's trying to get a gauge of where the Cowboys actually are right now. If anyone's watching here, please tell me where you think the Cowboys should actually be in a ranking system, because they've beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat, and they haven't really beaten anyone in that I would consider a Super Bowl contender, let alone a playoff team yet as well. The Houston Texans last week, fantastic. They look real good, and they're doing this without DeAndre Hopkins really contributing much the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, Hopkins did nothing. Last week, it was the Will Fuller show, so Hopkins didn't have to do nothing. If they can get Fuller and Hopkins rolling, this could be a team in the playoffs, and definitely another team that could, I don't want to say keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs, but they can throw the ball just as well as any team can. So if they want to get into a run and gun kind of game, I think Houston and Kansas City would be kind of a fun game to watch.
Yep.
And we can't forget about Nate's Lions here. 2-1-1.
I was so impressed, Coach.
They should
impressed.
They should be 3-1. And I don't want to make Nate sick here or anything, but that tie against Arizona could hurt him long run going down the stretch here. That tie. I'll be the first to admit it. I didn't have much hope for the Detroit Lions. I kind of picked against them the first couple weeks because they got to win against the Chargers. I really believed in the Chargers this year, which apparently I put my faith in the wrong team there. But the Lions have been fantastic. They're 2-1-1. The Colts look really good. I can't wait to see what the Colts look like when they get healthy. We're kind of only at the quarter point, and I know we did some of our awards there on Rated IDP Live, and we kind of talked about some of these unsung heroes here. And, of course, I'm going to pick Gardner Minshew for just about everything under the sun. Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, MVP. It's all Gardner Minshew. Nothing else really matters. We're going to get that little statue there with the syrup there going on, Gardner Minshew, right?
Yes.
That seems to be That seems to be a very popular GIF or GIF or whatever they call those things nowadays.
My 10-year anniversary is coming up in January. It's actually New Year's Eve is my 10-year anniversary. I didn't tell the wife that I got this buddy that does eye sculpting up down the road here. I'm gonna get a Gardner Minshew, and he's gonna be holding some nacho cheese on one side, and then white chocolate on the other side. It's gonna be fountains. And it's gonna be Gardner Minshew, man. We're gonna do it big, Coach.
You know what that reminds me of? That sounds like a perfect shirt that needs to be made by a certain shirt company. Like a Mrs. Butterworth kind of syrup being poured on a Gardner Minshew statue. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. That's my favorite gift in the world. I've turned 1,000 people onto this gift, man. One day I accidentally typed something in, and here comes this dude pouring syrup on a statue of baby Jesus. So it's sweet baby Jesus. Oh, we need a sweet baby Minshew. So
that sounds, like I said, that sounds like a perfect shirt to get made up by.
Oh, we're on to something here, Coach.
We might have to hit 8 up for this one here.
Yeah, but I'm with you, man. This Lions team, dude, the way that front line played against them Chiefs, man, it was otherworldly, man. It was pressuring in Mahomes' face constantly. And we've talked about how good Mahomes is on the run and his accuracy on the run. That tells you how good that Detroit Lions coverage was, man. The coverage was just insane, man. And special teams came along and played one hell of a game, and they still lost. So, you know, it's life being a Detroit Lions fan. It's what it is. It's what it's came to. This is what you take. This is what you take.
Yeah, and they had them on the ropes too. They had the lead on them. They were playing well. It looked like a big upset was going to get made, and you know,
that third quarter.
Yeah, give credit where credit's due. The Chiefs can blow up with any team in the league. They can go from 0 to 60. They did it to the Raiders. They put up 28 points in the second quarter alone. They did it against the Lions where they scored a bunch there. It's one of those things where the Chiefs have the explosion. They can do what they got to do. And you know what? Hats off to them, but they don't look as good this week as they did the previous weeks. I think a little bit, like I said earlier, that lure of the Chiefs has kind of gone away. And as the season goes on, maybe they get right. Maybe the Tyreek Hill coming back in week 6, week 7, changes that whole dynamic of the offense. Sammy Watkins getting right would be good, but Sammy Watkins is what we thought he was. I will stand on this hill, and I will continue to say Sammy Watkins sucks. I will not have him on my roster. I will not draft him. I will not do anything. Sam, I am. It's kind of how I feel about that. But you kind of go, and it's funny because I can't tell if it's just my pure hatred of the Chiefs or my complete homerism of the Raiders. But I just, Sammy Watkins has never really done it for me. And I'll continue to stand by that as long as I possibly can. I'm just kind of going over some few little things here. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube. Makes me feel better about myself that people are actually paying attention. Leave a comment if you can't get on the live show and you do catch us on here. Leave a comment and I'll get back to them. Any kind of questions you have, starts and sits, make sure you fire them on here. If you can't hit me up on the YouTube, make sure you hit me up on @Dingus4 and I'll answer any questions that you have. I'll bring them right to the show and we'll get them as we go along the thing here. I'm just kind of going over some quick little.
I've got 2 sick kiddos. So the wife's with one. So that leaves me fixing to have to go take care of the other one, Bubba.
No worries, man.
I hate to leave you solo, man, but I'm going to have to get out of here. And thanks for having me on, though.
Oh, no,
I appreciate you.
Make sure you check out @Oklahoma Doug there. Catch us on the Rated IDP Live. 99% of the time, it's on Friday nights. Every once in a while, we throw a curveball and do a Saturday night special. But make sure you get on the Twitter machine. Go give @Rated IDP there a follow as well, right? You have questions, you want to hear your defense answered, hit us up. If you can't get on the live show, leave a DM, leave a text message, whatever you got to do. We will get those questions answered for you. And Dougie might even bring in a song and a dance when it comes to certain players that you want to know questions about. It's got the air guitar going on there, the little Milli Vanilli action going on.
I love you, brother. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right, thanks for stopping by.
All right, buddy.
All right,
Later,
take care of
buddy.
them kids. Oh boy, now that got really big. So I'm just going to kind of go into our starts and sits here for this week. Obviously, you're going to start anyone against the New York Giants here. New England, Sony Michel, give him another shot this week. James White, give him a shot. Edelman, Gordon are good options this week as well. And obviously Tom Brady. These are all guys you're going to start. You're not going to start anyone on the Giants. Daniel Jones is going to struggle against the New England Patriots, in my opinion. They will look to keep him in the pocket and make him a passer. Evan Ingram's out with an injury. Sterling Shepard is out with an injury. He's with a concussion. Wayne Gallman got banged up last week. Golden Tate is probably the only option they have right now for the New York Giants. If you're going to look at starts here, look at Matt Stafford again, going against the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, Green Bay Packers this week. We talked about Matt Stafford. He's looking much better. Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones on the outside. One of those guys is going to have a big week. I'm going to guess Marvin Jones is another sneaky little start for you as well, because Jair Alexander will probably be on Kenny Golladay most of the time. So keep an eye on Marvin Jones this week in your starting lineup as well. A couple other things I'm going in here. Of course, I'm going to have Gardner Minshew as a start, because it's Gardner Minshew. I know it's the Saints defense. We talked about how improved this front is in New Orleans. New Orleans is going to win this game. My guess is here, and probably by a considerable amount. Gardner Minshew is going to be throwing that ball up. DJ Chark, D.D. Westbrook. Chark is the number one option there. He's probably going to have Lattimore on him for the most of the game. D.D. Westbrook is a nice little sleeper here as well. The Los Angeles Rams have had a little bit of an issue there containing the running back. Matt Breida is another start for you. Matt Breida had a big game on Monday Night Football. Tevin Coleman had a lot of yards there too. I think he broke 100 or was close to 100. Breida was over 100. Breida is a real good running back, and he's definitely worth starting this week going forward. Now we go on the flip side here. Todd Gurley is probably a guy you're starting. You're forcing yourself to start because of where you drafted him. I would temper expectations a little bit with Todd Gurley against that 49ers front. This could be a really interesting game. We know 49ers Rams is always a good game to begin with. I'm tempering expectations on Todd Gurley. Smart money would say to sit him, but I'm probably still going to start him because of what I spent on him in the draft. But temper those expectations, and hopefully you have a little something special on the side that you can put in there. Okay. Start Stephon Diggs. Yes, I know what I'm saying here. I know it's probably going against better judgment here. Stephon Diggs for me this week is another start because he's going against the Philadelphia Eagles, and that Eagles secondary has been brutal so far this year. Adam Thielen's going to get some passes to him. Last week, it seems like the squeaky wheel syndrome going on in Minnesota right now. 2 weeks ago, Stephon Diggs got a lot of the targets. Last week, Adam Thielen. Diggs had 2 catches. Diggs is a start this week. I think he gets right again. Kirk Cousins is starting to roll. Get Kirk Cousins in your starting lineup too against the Eagles, and see what can happen there. If you want to go a little deeper, you need a flex option there. Michael Gallup is a good option for you this week. He goes against the who do I got them going against here? The Jets. The Jets are bad. I don't know if they're going to stop a whole lot. Dak Prescott, another good start, but you're probably starting him regardless. You're going to get Michael Gallup there against that Jets secondary. That's a start as well. So those are just some quick little breakdowns on some starts and sits. Head on over to DynastyVipers.com, and we can get you. We have all your kind of things going on that you could possibly want. My rankings will probably drop on tomorrow around noon. You can probably check those out as well. Just moving on here, I'm going to do a little love here for my boy B. Martzy. Couldn't be with us again here today. His kind of waiver wire article is up right now. He's got some names up on there on DynastyVipers.com. Some of the quarterbacks he's talking about, and when we do our waiver wires, we talk about going deep. It's not always the most obvious people to go pick up. He's recommending Colt McCoy and Devlin Hodges this week. Devlin Hodges came in relief of Mason Rudolph. Definitely worth giving him a shot this week. You're probably not starting him, but you're definitely picking him up on the waiver wire, especially in 2 QB leagues. You're going to want to get him as quickly as you can because who knows what's going to happen there in Pittsburgh, how long Mason Rudolph is going to be out for. Running backs, this is one of my favorites here. He kind of touches on Reggie Bonifin. Last week he went off. It's more of a speculative pick, a deep dash, kind of stash him on the back end of your bench and see what happens. I see someone signed in to watch me, seen how big the picture was, seen how ugly it was, and got off here. But thank you for tuning in. I appreciate that. Duke Williams is another wide receiver 3 in Buffalo, which made Zay Jones expendable to the Oakland Raiders. Duke Williams is a guy you probably want to get on your roster because he's a big physical slot receiver, outside receiver. He can kind of play everywhere. You know he's going to come over the middle, make some plays. I watched him a lot in the CFL when he was with the Edmonton Eskimos. Definitely someone you want to get going on here. At the tight end position, some deep dives. Ricky Seals-Jones, you probably want to get on him. Foster Moreau, another option out there for the tight end position. Darren Waller is still going to get a lion's share of the touches and pass receptions. Whoa, boy, it's getting late here. Make sure you get him on there. Defensive line, we've got Sheldon Rankins, Brandon Graham, and Jordan Phillips as guys to target. All of them are great. Brandon Graham was coming off a pretty big week last week. I know I had him sitting on my bench, so that absolutely killed me. If you're in those leagues where you got to start 2 defensive linemen or 2 defensive ends, he's definitely someone to get in there for you. Linebackers, Uchenna Nwasu of the LA Chargers. He had a good game last week. Definitely someone you want to plug in there. He was playing all over the field. Great option there. And in that secondary, Jordan Whitehead and Eric Harris are 2 guys I'm looking strongly at. Eric Harris has come in and had some pretty good games for the Oakland Raiders. And Jordan Whitehead, again, performing very well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So those are just some quick little waiver wires. One of the other things here, Calvin and Hobby couldn't join us tonight. We had some family commitments there. But every week, make sure you go out there and you check the box score scouting. It'll be probably live here probably tomorrow as well. What that is he goes in there, he goes back kind of like a week in review, talks about some stuff, and then you go onto the Twitter machine at Calvin and Hobby, and he usually has a little bit of a thread going on for you to follow along with. And it's really good information out there. It kind of breaks down each and every game. It's one of our favorite segments we like to have on the show, just to kind of talk about what to expect going forward. With that all said, in the next couple of weeks here, we're hoping to do a little bit of a 2020 draft special here. We're going to talk about a way too early look at the 2020 draft class and maybe see how that's going to affect the top 10 quarterbacks, some of the running backs here to keep an eye on coming out early, as well as the ones that we know for sure will be in the draft this year. So you want to tune in probably the next couple of weeks and catch that show. That's going to be great. I got a couple of good guests coming up here in the next couple of weeks here, which I'm very excited about. So stay tuned on Twitter. I'll be making those announcements here. I'm really excited about it. As always, if you don't want to look at my ugly mug on YouTube, head over to Podbean. We'll get the podcast out on there. So all you have to do is listen to my voice. You don't have to see my face. I really wish I could shrink myself here so it wasn't the whole screen, because that would be fantastic. But either way, you're kind of stuck with me on that one. It's getting late here. I'm going to try keeping the show down as much as possible. Make sure you go check out our friends there at Oklahoma Dog. Came on, bailed me out again, so I didn't have to run solo. Check him out. Check us out every Friday night at Rated IDP, the Rated IDP live show. We do that show with Nate the Cheat, with IDP guys. It's definitely worth it. You're looking for some new swag, go head over to myfantasyfootballshirt.com. Nate's got a new little clothing line kind of going on right now that he's got some really good stuff over there. Go check that out. Again, that's myfantasyfootballshirt.com. Go see what you got going on there. There's a Gardner Minshew t-shirt that would look good on just about every single one of you out there. So make sure you got that going on. Some of the other things going on, if you get some trade offers here right now, I'm trying to acquire Tyreek Hill from a buddy of mine, and I'm not too sure what to make an offer on. So hit me up, tell me what I should offer the guy for Tyreek Hill in redraft, assuming he's going to be coming back here in week 6, probably week 7 for sure. Week 6 is a possibility. I'd like to hear from what everyone here has to say. Just kind of going through here some of the things I've just kind of across my Twitter feed here recently. We talked about Gardner Minshew. We always talk about Gardner Minshew. Anytime I'm on a show, it's about Gardner Minshew. Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is a really polarizing character right now in the NFL for me. He is what I would consider a buy low. Right now is probably the lowest. You could probably make a trade for him. So he's definitely someone to look at because you're not paying what you were going to pay at the beginning of the season. Baker Mayfield was overhyped at the beginning of the season. Lots of people had him as their dynasty quarterback one. Obviously, he's not performing up to that standard right now. So if you got a chance, I would think now is the time to try and make a dynasty trade and try and get him on your roster and see what that value is going to be. Definitely kick the tires at the very least. Some other guys, Tyreek Hill, like I said, you want to try and trade for him right now because in a couple weeks, the buy window is going to be closed unless you want to fork over more than you want to pay for him. I'm sure of it. Okay, well, I'm basically out of breath here. I got to head upstairs here and do what I got to do there. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, DynastyVipers.com, at DynastyVipers. Come say hi to me at Dingus4. Make sure you like and subscribe here. Head over to, there it is, DynastyVipers.podbean.com for all our past podcasts. Check them up, download them, make some comments. Let us know where we can improve on as we go forward, and we will kind of go from there. For at Oklahoma Doug, I'm Dingus4. This is Dynasty Vipers episode 7, and I'm gone.